evening. So I wanted to come on and make a quick video about two things in particular that have been coming up in conversation, and I've seen a few memes over the Christmas holiday that made me kind of say, I want to talk about this. So one came up in a conversation with my friend today, and we were talking about gratitude, and she said something akin to her boyfriend had been pretty mean to her, and she said, well, I was during, this argument we were having, I was sitting in gratitude and I was grateful for him, for how hard he works, and for all the money he brought in to help for Christmas presents, blah, blah, blah. And I said, wait a second. That's not what I'm talking about when I say be grateful for things. And we talked about it, and I said, what I mean by gratitude for the stuff that's otherwise more difficult. I'm trying to get the light out of my eyes. I don't wear my glasses very often, and when everything always reflects right in my eyeballs. Okay. So I said, that's not what I mean. I said that it doesn't excuse bad behavior from those outside of you. Gratitude isn't just saying, it's okay, he's had a hard day, he's allowed to treat me like garbage. That's not gratitude. That's not the purpose of it. That is not a good thing. That's what we call spiritual bypassing, or just not having boundaries, really. And so what I mean by gratitude is, you have this argument, someone's mean to you, you take it, you go back later, you reflect upon it, and you say, how did this trigger me? What did this bring up in me? Why did this need to happen? Why didn't I set boundaries? And you question and you learn from the experience. Oh, I didn't set a good enough boundary because blah, blah, blah. This is a pattern for me. I'm used to letting people treat me like crap, and I just excuse their behavior because I think I'm the bigger person. That's my pattern. Fine. Okay. I need to learn from that. Is that the person I want to be? Do I want people to walk all over me? Do I want to just take it because I'm, quote, nice? No, I don't want that anymore. Then you've established the pattern. You've learned from the experience that you needed to have to see the pattern. You blow up the pattern and you learn to set boundaries the next time that something like that starts to happen. Then you say, you know what? I am grateful for that argument where he treated me like crap, because I learned and grew stronger in my ability to set my boundaries. That's the gratitude I'm talking about. Not in the moment making excuses for the bad behavior, or that things stink or whatever. Excuse me, I'm very thirsty. So, I hope that makes sense, because I talked to her about it. I was like, whoa, time out. And she looked at it and she's like, that's a really interesting perspective. And she's like, I like that, because it makes more sense. And I said, yeah, because if you are just excusing their behavior because of a bad day or whatever, you're allowing that and saying it's okay for them to treat you that way, which, guess what? It's going to happen again, and it'll be uglier the next time, and uglier and uglier and uglier, until finally you stop and learn that lesson that you need to learn. So when I'm talking about being in gratitude, it's from what you've learned from the experience, not from the experience itself, if that makes sense. And then it brought me to the second point, because what she was saying is, well, so many people have it worse than I do, so it's not that big a deal. And I said, well, time out, times two. I said, it's funny, because I just saw a meme about this morning, and this came up for me in one of my triggers last week. I was sitting with a lot of grief from a relationship I was in where it was rarely awesome. It was pretty heavy, and a lot of like triggers between us, and it just was, ugh. And I was lonely in a relationship a lot, but I made excuses for him because his life was dreadful. Like, he had a horrible childhood and a lot of abuse, and so I always made excuses for him. Always, always, always. And so I was kind of in the same position. And this is how I could see it with what she was telling me, because I've been there. And so I told her, I said, we make a mistake when we say we don't allow ourselves to feel emotions over a trauma in our own lives because someone else has it worse. I said, that's bullshit. And yet, just earlier today, I saw someone post something about Christmas. They're saying, when you're opening all your presents and blah, 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 just remember that someone out there has it worse than you, and someone out there doesn't have anything, and, be grateful for what you have. Now, the spirit behind that meme is a good one. Yes, you should be grateful for all that you have. You should be able to stop. And I told my kids that. We had that exact conversation, not that exact conversation. We had the conversation about being grateful because I want them to learn to be thankful and be grateful little people, because I think it'll make their lives better. But I don't want them to feel bad because some other kid didn't get as much stuff as they did. That's not their burden to carry. That's not your burden to carry. You're allowed to feel anger at something that happens to you that's bad, even if someone else has something bad happen to them. Now, this brought me back to a time when I experienced an assault, a sexual assault, when I was much younger. And at the time, I didn't tell, no, that's not true. I told one person, a very good friend of mine at the time, I told about this situation, what happened, but no one else. Nobody. Because I didn't, and honestly, I didn't tell my friend whose husband committed the assault because she was having a really hard time that summer, and I didn't want to make it worse. I didn't want to be in the middle of it. Like, that's some screwed up crap. But this is the conditioning we learn when we tell people that, don't feel bad for yourself because someone else has it worse. Now, this does not mean sit in victimhood. I did not spend my life feeling sorry for myself and hating men because one man treated me poorly. I didn't, I did put up some walls because I didn't allow the grief and the anger to come out when it needed to. I just shoved it down. Oh, it's okay because, they're having a hard time this summer. And so I got to be the whipping post. Bullshit, right? So I allowed myself, after 20 years, to experience the grief and the anger over this situation just last week, a week ago. And I said, I have experienced a lot of trauma. Maybe it's not, seeing my friends murdered in a war or, losing all my loved ones in a plane crash or, the horrible things that happen to other people necessarily. But I've experienced trauma. And the fact that I had not grieved most of them explains a lot of my walls in relationships and other things. And so what I'm suggesting to you all is that you look at those places where you don't allow yourself to feel your emotions because of someone else around you has it worse. I want you to look at those things and step back and say, no, it's okay for me to feel them, and sit through the emotion and allow the emotion, because that's where you will heal. That's where you will process. That's where you will be allowed to move forward, so you don't sit in victimhood by putting up all these walls. I know why I've attracted some not amazing relationships, because I needed to learn those lessons. I needed to allow that grief. I needed to allow the anger to come out. Anger is grief's bodyguard, my mentor says. So when I get angry, it's because I'm not allowing the grief below to come out, to surface, to process. And grief is okay to feel when you go through something traumatic. And it doesn't have to be trauma. It can just be a hard day. So I hope this makes sense and allows us all to not say, well, my grief isn't as bad as yours or my grief is worse than yours, because it doesn't. We don't know the entire life of the person who has experienced these things. Their Their traumas and griefs are theirs and yours are yours. You're allowed to feel your own feelings separate from other people's experiences. No one needs to understand. No one needs to accept it. It is all your stuff to process through. Whew. And this is coming up because it's Christmas time. Holidays are a time when a lot of grief comes up for a lot of people. And I see it in these, like this meme, like again, I think that the meaning behind it was well intentioned, but I don't think most people read below to see that, because I heard my friend then say it again too. She's like, well, I shouldn't complain. My problems aren't that big a deal. And I'm like, stop. It's like, yes, they are, because they're causing you strife. And so, and that's okay. It's like what I always tell, talking about when children go back and process their, oh, sorry, dropped my phone, and process their stuff. And sometimes I always say red plate or blue plate. And it's like, you're 2 years old, 3 years old, and red's your favorite color, and your mom knows red's your favorite color, but she always gives you the blue plate because she obviously doesn't care that red's your favorite color. It's so silly, but it causes that little thing in the 2-year-old, the 3-year-old, that says, no one listens and hears me. No one sees me. And then they go forward and think that I don't deserve the red plate. It's okay. My brother obviously deserves it more. And it can be that silly, but it's the same outcome 20 years later when, we allow this traumatic event to happen without emoting over it. So yeah, I'm kind of talking in circles at this point, but hopefully that makes a little bit of sense and you can understand what I'm saying, because I think it's important, and this is the subtlety of the work. Don't push down your feelings for someone else's benefit. I guess it all boils down to that. So if you're struggling, if you're sitting through a lot of grief, because again, I know holidays bring it up. It brought it up at me yesterday. I told my kids I didn't ever want to do Christmas again. It brings up a lot of stuff, a lot of childhood stuff, a lot of, relationship stuff, a lot of loneliness, things like that, especially this year with COVID, and keeping a lot of families away from each other. Some of you who are with your families, it brings up all that stuff. So if you're struggling, please reach out. I am taking some clients until I start my program I'm looking at the end of January for my program with the teens. Be looking for more on that. But so if you need a couple of sessions before then, I'm happy to work with you because it's a good time. I mean, it really, everyone's all like gung-ho new year and resolutions and getting to feel better, and 2021's got to be better than 2020 and all those feelings. So if that's you, it's a great time to invest in yourself. Reach out. What am I going to say? My email address is kathysquantumcoaching@yahoo.com, Kathy with a C. And yeah, and we can chat about working together, because I really do think that now is a really important time to really dig in and allow yourself to grow and to heal and to move forward. So 2021 can be a better year. I think for those people who are doing the work, 2021 will be an awesome year. For those people who aren't, I think it's going to be harder than 2020. 2020 for me was a really, really good year. And I attributed it to doing the work, to feeling really good about where I'm at in my life. So if you'd like to feel that too, let's get you going. Sign you up, because it's a good thing. It's a good thing to feel good. I promise. All right. Have a lovely evening. I'm going to sign off because it's getting late. But hope everyone's well and hope everybody had a great Christmas. All right. Bye.